Right. Let's kick things off with a fantastic quote from C.J. Cherryhick. Trade isn't about goods. Trade is about information. Goods sit in the warehouse until information moves them. Isn't that brilliant? It's the perfect way to frame our session today. If you're aiming to be a future logistics director, or honestly, if you just want to master the actual science behind supply chains, you are absolutely in the right place. Consider this your masterclass. I'll be your lecturer for today's explainer, which we're calling the Warehouse Manager's Playbook, Strategies for Modern Logistics. We are going to dig right into the theory, the maths, and the absolute practical realities of managing these massive operational hubs. So let's get our undergraduate hats on and prepare to take some top-notch notes. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our syllabus for today. First up, the strategic warehouse. Then, location and layout design. From there, we'll look inside warehouse operations, check out the physical tools of the trade, and finally wrap up by future-proofing our knowledge with sustainable warehouse management. By the time we finish up, you'll be able to hit some very specific learning objectives. You'll be able to explain the true role of warehouse management, systematically select proper locations, and design efficient layouts. We'll also make sure you can use grouping techniques like ABC analysis, understand how to match storage methods with the right physical tools, and ultimately apply modern sustainable management principles to the entire operation. Let's get to it. Section 1. The strategic warehouse, more than just a storage box. Let's establish our formal definition right out of the gate. We really need to stop thinking of warehouses as just vast, empty rooms. They are highly strategic assets. Essentially, a warehouse is the critical link balancing upstream production and downstream consumption. Warehouse management is the rigorous control of all activities related to that facility. Our main goals here are twofold: minimize operating costs and maximize the use of space, all while fiercely protecting the goods. The whole point is to make this massive physical investment actually worthwhile for the organization. Now, when an organization decides it needs a warehouse, it faces a fundamental choice of ownership. Do we go public or private? It's a massive trade-off. A public warehouse operates basically like a rental business. It gives you incredible flexibility to scale up or down, and you get to rely on specialists, but you do sacrifice customization. On the flip side, a private warehouse is built or operated entirely by your firm. You get strict, long-term operational control and typically lower long-term costs. But the catch? It requires a massive upfront capital investment, and you're stuck with it if your capacity needs suddenly drop. Let's move to and see how this builds. Section 2. Location and layout design, where to build and how to organize. Before we can even think about operating a warehouse, we have to mathematically decide exactly where to build the thing. Hoover's macro location strategy gives us 3 distinct options: near the market, near the raw materials source, or somewhere in the middle. Let's look at the maths of a real-world example: a cassava processing plant. Imagine the transport tariff is 2 baht per ton kilometer. We need to move 200 tons of heavy, raw cassava, but the finished product actually loses weight during processing, coming out at only 160 tons. Let's compare those total costs. Case 1, locating near the raw materials source costs 35,200 baht. But locating near the market, that jumps up to 36,800 baht. The maths proves it definitively. When you're dealing with heavy, perishable raw materials that lose weight during processing, locating near the source is going to save you money. The heavier flow simply travels the shorter distance. All right, let's step inside the warehouse now. I want to pose a question to you. If you were storing highly perishable food items or beverages, how would you design your racks to ensure the oldest stock is picked first and absolutely nothing spoils? Take a second and think about the actual physics of how goods move. And this brilliantly illustrates the answer: the pallet flow rack. Instead of your typical flat shelves, these are gravity-fed inclined rollers. You load your pallets at one end, and they naturally roll right down to the picking end. This guarantees native FIFO, first in, first out. When it comes to food and beverage safety, native FIFO is absolutely non-negotiable. This layout literally uses gravity to do the management for you. Section 3. Inside warehouse operations, systems, SKUs, and sorting. Now that we've got the racks built, how do we scientifically group our goods and manage the day-to-day? Well, you simply cannot treat every item in a warehouse equally. It's a massive waste of labor. Instead, we use ABC analysis. This is based on the Pareto principle, the classic 80-20 rule. Typically, just 20% of your items generate 80% of your value.
Those are your Group A items. Group A demands incredibly strict stock control and needs to be placed in the absolute most convenient picking locations, precisely near the dispatch doors. Groups B and C, they have a much lower value and can be managed with far more flexible control and just periodic checks. So, how do we actually assign those items to specific spaces? Traditional warehouses, like those holding auto parts with a really stable inventory, use a fixed location system. Every single product has a predetermined, dedicated spot. It's super easy for staff to memorize. But modern e-commerce giants like Amazon or Shopee, they use a random location system. Goods are basically placed wherever there happens to be an empty space. This maximizes floor area utilization tremendously. But here's the catch. It relies entirely on IT systems to track every single item. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how that IT system actually works in practice. We're looking at the anatomy of a material master record in a modern warehouse management system, or WMS. Just look at how it tracks a single SKU, a 40-inch LCD TV. It doesn't just know what the item is. It knows the base unit is pieces, the category is normal, and it tracks the net weight down to the exact gram, 24.651 kilograms. This level of granular, hyper-specific data is exactly what allows information to move the goods, just like CJ Chariot told us at the very beginning. Section 4. Tools of the Trade. Packaging and Materials Handling Equipment. Software's fantastic, sure, but logistics is fundamentally a physical game. Let's look at the actual packaging and equipment required to execute these operations safely. Packaging exists in 3 tiers: retail for the consumer, wholesale to group those items, and outer or transport packaging to protect the whole lot in transit. And all of this rests on pallets. Your choice of pallet material is highly strategic. Wooden pallets are the standard, but they require heat treatment for international shipping. Plastic is incredibly hygienic, making it perfect for food and pharma. If you're doing single-use export via air cargo, you'd probably choose lightweight paper pallets to save on freight weight. And for heavy industry, non-flammable steel pallets are absolutely the ultimate choice. To actually move those pallets, we need handling equipment. Conveyors, whether belt or roller, provide a continuous horizontal flow, which is brilliant for keeping boxes moving smoothly and safely. When your staff need to move heavy pallets through narrow aisles, they'll use manual hydraulic hand pallet trucks. And of course, when goods need to be stored vertically, we rely on forklifts, which can lift incredibly heavy loads up to roughly 4.5 meters high right into our selective or drive-in racking systems. Section 5. Sustainable Warehouse Management. Future-proofing the operation. As modern logistics professionals, we have a strict requirement to ensure our operations are environmentally, socially, and economically responsible. So the crucial point is that sustainable warehousing isn't just about having good intentions. It's practically driven by advanced technology. We use IoT sensors for real-time temperature control, which prevents stock spoilage and slashes waste. AI and big data analyze demand to prevent overstocking and automatically optimize layout paths to save energy. We've got automated guided vehicles and autonomous mobile robots operating 24/7 in the dark, which drastically cuts down on lighting and energy use. And finally, those sprawling, massive warehouse rooftops, they're absolutely ideal for solar panels, directly reducing our reliance on fossil fuels. We've covered strategy, layouts, systems, physical tools, and sustainability. And now I want to leave you with a rather provocative thought to apply to your own real business analysis. As trade becomes increasingly automated with AI, sophisticated sensors, and robotics, will the physical warehouse eventually run entirely without human intervention? Or will there always be a need for the warehouse manager? Think about all the complexities we've discussed today. I really hope this explainer has given you the foundational knowledge to formulate your own answer to that. Thank you so much for learning with us today.